Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on Assetto Corsa, but this time it's the new Assetto Corsa Competition, the new version of the game that's come out. And you see there, this is early access, so what you get is very limited. You know, it's £22.99, but then you don't pay anything extra at all until the full release, and you get the full release game for that price. So within the single player, the options you've got obviously is a quick race, which you can obviously adjust certain settings. You can have day, whatever time you want it to be of the day. You can have a race of up to 30 minutes long. It's a 22 car grid, I think 21 or 22 cars on the grid at the moment in this game, and you can start wherever you want. That's a quick race. You can also do a practice session and a hot lap session with any time of day, and pretty much, you know, the weather you want also within there. You can have, I think the weather cycles that you can use obviously are the light rain, medium rain, and heavy rain, and a thunderstorm. However, I'm going to talk a bit more about that in a minute. You can see this is just the different settings. You can do hot lap. You can still do everything you can, choose from a single race. Tracks, only one track for this early access, so not much variety, but this is expected. This is very early on in the game's development still. They've still got a lot of work to do with this game. I'm going to be realistic about this. This is my first try of the game, and it's not gone very smoothly. I'm going to be brutally honest. The screen doesn't seem to be centered right. I don't know if that's an issue with my... I've never had it on any other game, but you can see these are the weather options you've got. Dynamic is not available yet because that setting is coming at a later date in one of the later builds of the game. They've got a lot of work, so much work to do in terms of fixing bugs that are in this, but I'm guessing they won't. I don't know how they're going to prioritize it, but these are the special events. These are quite interesting. You've got the hot lap, which I've done one lap on, then you have an 8-minute hot lap session, which is about consistency, and a 35-minute hot lap session, and there's leaderboards for each of them, and then you've got a final race where you've got to finish within the top 10 after a bad qualifying or something. It's like a preset race scenario. So that's your special events. I've done the first one just to try and... I spent quite a while on the first hot lap just trying to get used to the game, and then did a few setup changes and got an okay lap in. Frustratingly, I would have actually got myself on the global leaderboard within the... I think I would have got in the top 3 or 4 on the global leaderboard, but... messed the end of the lap up. I'm going to show you that lap anyway now, and this is obviously after trying to get used to it, getting a little bit of consistency. I had to alter some very basic things on the setup, not much though. I went with the aggressive setup that they have as a preset and just pretty much changed a few things by 1 or 2 clicks, mainly like the traction control down to level 1, the ABS down to level 3, and you can see it drives fairly similar to Assetto Corsa, but for me at the moment, the force feedback isn't as good as the original Assetto Corsa because there's still a lot of work to be done. The cargoes are a little bit loose. It's quite hard to feel where the grip is compared to the original Assetto Corsa. As a basic starting ground, I think this is very good. There's a lot of potential in the game. You can see I've got used to it fairly quickly. Obviously, I haven't played Assetto Corsa for a long time. I've been playing Gran Turismo Sport, but I managed to get fairly up to speed. You can see the times. It shows you the event leaderboards for the global leaderboards on that left there. Shows you the top 6. I would have actually got this lap quite up. You can see this lap at the moment is 2 temps up on a 155.0, and it goes higher up. You can see nearly 3 temps up at this stage of lap. It was going quite well at this stage, and one thing I will say about the quality of this video, this wasn't recorded on my Elgato. I couldn't work out how to record from the PC. I did watch a video of explaining it, but it recorded half of a screen. It didn't record the whole thing, so had to use the Nvidia like GeForce experience, the GeForce thing at 1080p 60 frames per second. So it's still okay, but the game is still not optimized at 100%. Obviously, it's no optimization really at all at this stage of development. It's very early and early access. There's a lot, loads of stuff that they need to do in terms of optimization. Bugs in the game. I don't think I had a session pretty much without a bug in. As you can see, nearly over 6 temps up, but this lap was heading for a 54.3 or around that stage, and it just went downhill there. Didn't carry enough speed into that corner, and then the final corner, downshift into second gear, you'll see, tried to get on the power too early to get a really good exit, and the rear went loose, and watch the delta just drop. Now it goes all the way down to 3 temps. So unfortunately, I still get a 54.7, but I was so close to getting myself into P6. I would have got at least P5 or 4 on that global leaderboard, but I don't think it's been put much effort into it by other people at this stage. but I might have a go at trying to get myself onto that board at some point. Depending on how well I can get the setup going. Setups are quite a bit different on this game. There's not as much to change. I'm hoping they're going to add other stuff in as the game progresses. I really don't know. I have no idea how they're going to do this early access. I don't know how the original Assetto Corsa worked with the early access. This was a race in where obviously the original Assetto Corsa never had wet weather. I started myself in the mid pack. I had the AI set at 100% for speed and 85% aggression, just to try and see what they were like to race. It seemed like a reasonably good thing with the aggression. They weren't overly aggressive. Maybe it could have been a little bit higher. They seemed a bit weak at making attempts at overtakes, but possibly adjust that in the future. But the wet weather handles as expected, less grip. It's actually fairly easy to drive on with this is just running the wet preset for a setup from the menu that you get presets. You have aggressive, dry, and like a base dry, an aggressive dry, a preset for wet weather setup. So I just run the preset wet weather setup. See, getting used to this is my first ever lap in the rain, to be fair, so I've never done any running in the rain on this game. I just jumped straight in just to get some footage, because I think that's what a lot of people will want to see. They'll want to know what it feels like. It's actually it's quite good because it's a lot slower than the dry, but it's not overly hard because you've got the wet tyres on, you've got the car set up for the wet, you've got the traction control on a high setting. I think I actually turned a bit of that off eventually because it was a bit too high, but it's just a case of being cautious, and it's not overly difficult. It's a little bit more understeer, and it's what the original Assetto Corsa missed. So hopefully once everything comes together with this game, it should be a very good game. It's just I think they've got a lot of work to do, because I've had endless bugs with this game. One you will see on this race. I'm not going to show you the whole race because the bug ruined it anyway. But I've had a very weird bug where when getting on the power in the hot lap session, coming out of turn 1, you put the power down and it's as if the clutch engages and then it just spins up and just hits the rev limiter. That's without you even engaging any clutch. It just happens. I've got footage of it. I'm not going to include it in this because I'm not going to overly criticise bugs at this stage. This is early access. There's going to be plenty of bugs and they're going to work through them. What I want to see is some sort of, after a few weeks, that they're going to start working on some of these bugs and getting rid of them, because at the moment, the way the game is at the moment, I can't really play this. It's just got too many issues, and it was frustrating me, and I think if I carried on playing it, I'd get really frustrated. I don't want to start disliking the game because the game's clearly got potential. The handling is there. It's just the force feedback I think needs some work. Obviously setups is a massive thing on Assetto Corsa. We know that from the original game. I used to do a lot of setups on that game. So I'm guessing once I've got obviously a grasp of what needs changing, it's going to change the feel of the cars a little bit. But force feedback is a priority that definitely doesn't. It's not as good as the original Assetto Corsa for me. I don't have as much feel of the grip and the bumps on the road. It all feels a bit muted. So that's one thing I do want to see. And also the suspension. I don't feel like the suspension on this game, physics-wise, feels as good as it did on the original. Whether that's just because this is still very early on, they've changed how they're doing the aerodynamics on the game and how it affects, wings affect things. So unless they've gone for a different approach, I'm not too sure. But it's definitely got, it's gonna be a good game if they can iron out all the bugs, keep working on stuff and listen to feedback, because I've seen so many people praising the game. You see it on Twitter. There's people that are praising it when all they've played is this, and I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I think they need to have criticism, because without the criticism, the game's not going to develop where it needs to develop. And let's just see how it goes. Early access. I expected a lot of bugs in this anyway, because it's not out until next year, well into next year. I think I'd be surprised if it comes out in the first quarter next year. I think it'll get a mid 2019 release, because there's so much work to do for each car. They've only got one car that's playable at the moment, so I'm guessing a lot of the other cars need a massive amount of work, so they'll get released as and when they're ready. as they go through the different phases of release. There's about 6 or 7 phases, I think, where they're going to add different content in. As you can see, there's a strange issue there where I think it's the Audi just stopped in the braking zone and just held up the other AI. Put myself into the P2 position. The P1 had just gone off because I think that Audi was just holding everyone up. So the AI don't seem very balanced again. It's very much like before the AI patch that happened on Assetto Corsa. The AI are very similar to that. They seem a bit random. They won't overtake you in certain positions. We're going to skip forward now to further in the race, and this is where the bug happens. Now, this could be something to do with myself pressing the pause button. I really don't know. This is a strange bug though. It's a bit annoying that it happened because I was actually having quite an alright racing this. I was getting to the point now where I was gaining a little bit on the leader, and it was quite enjoyable. I was trying to push, trying to work out where the grip was, and it was enjoyable. I was enjoying driving in the wet conditions on Assetto Corsa. So I had to pause it because my little girl came and asked a question, so it was paused. We'll skip through to when I unpaused it. You're going to see there, I unpaused it and carried on with the race. Now, I think that pause session there caused an issue with the AI, because you're going to see what happens further up now. I mean, it might not have done it. I really don't know how far they would have been behind some of this AI, because these are the back markers that you're going to see in a minute as we carry on further in this race now. But going through this corner, there was warnings obviously that there's yellow flags ahead, but I was getting them all the way through the race anyway, so I didn't think much of it. I ran a little bit wide there. One thing I do like I said there, is the gravel being quite hard when it's wet, so you don't get bogged down in it. But all the cars up ahead have stopped completely in the road, and you see, went into the back of one. I couldn't work out what it was at first. It was just like black in front of me. I could see black things in front. Obviously saw what had happened and then just went into the back. And then as I go forward, it's just because this one car has completely stopped on the inside there, and it makes me think, when I've paused it, has that created him to just pause as well, or and not unpause when I've unpaused it? So it's as if his car hasn't carried on. It could be an issue that's happened, but it's the old issue again of the old Assetto Corsas, where one car stopped. You can stop a car on the track and the AI will not go past that car. Why haven't the other cars gone past it? Because the AI isn't optimized properly yet. It's still very early on. It needs to have the optimization that they did on the old Assetto Corsa when they eventually fixed the AI and got them much better. But even then, they were still very reluctant to pass when you just stopped on the track. It seems like an old bug, an issue in the game that hasn't gone completely yet, as you can see. Another thing at the moment, you can't really do much with the replays. You can't, no photo mode, nothing like that. That will come at a later date. I'm going to leave this now running just to watch the replay. It looks okay visually. Obviously, it's still it's not amazing. It's not the most amazing looking game you're going to come across. It's okay looking, but when you've been playing Gran Turismo Sport for a while, I know it's a different type of game. Obviously, physics on Gran Turismo Sport are not as good as Assetto Corsa, but when you've been playing a game that is visually as immersive as Gran Turismo, and then you come to this game, it does kind of make the immersion drop a bit because the visuals are not there. But they're not bad. They're better than the original, but I wouldn't say they're a massive step ahead. They're fairly similar, just a little bit more colours in there and a little bit brighter and a little bit more realistic, really. So I'm going to let the replay play out now anyway, just for the first few laps as I was battling away with the AI before they had the little moment where I paused it and they just stopped in the road. And I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. It's just a quick info on my experience so far with the game. I'm going to be, hopefully I'll do I'll try and do a hot lap for that first one and try and get myself a little bit closer to the top time at some point. I might not be, within the next few days. It could be a week or so. And I'll also do the special event, race event, where you got to finish in the top 10. Hopefully I can get a clean run on that and have a little upload of that just to show you the special event in that, to see what it's like. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Make sure you sub to the channel. We're going to be uploading obviously more the Assetto Corsa content as and when it drops, and with the updates that they release. For this first update, there's not much to really play. I will go back on it and do maybe 2 more videos on this first phase of the release, and then when the next phase comes out, I'll obviously test that out, see what improvements have been made and what new content's in that. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Make sure you sub to the channel if you haven't already subbed. Click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll be back very soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.